And welcome back to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. We're speaking this hour with Ellen Gottlieb, founder of Enlightened Parenting, all about how to be more conscious in how we show up for our kids, right?
Right.
So it's September has passed, which is back to school, but I'm still calling it back to school season, so to speak. What do you find with the parents that you're dealing with? Like, what are the big issues when kids first go back to school? You know, I always like to say, even though it's the Jewish New Year's around this time, to me, September always feels like the new year, just because as a kid, it was like summer was the break, and then, you know, your new school year started in September. So to me, I always feel like the years go from September to August.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So the kids are back to school. What kinds of issues are parents typically dealing with these days?
There are a number of issues. I would say anxiety in the children is probably the greatest one, and the anxiety in the parents as well. All about having.
And what are kids anxious about these days?
They're anxious about the social aspect, the academic aspects. The younger ones are anxious about drop-off. The older children are anxious about peer pressure, socialization, academic pressures. It can really span the gamut of anxieties, and unfortunately, the parents are often modeling that anxiety. Instead of being the antidote, we tend to be the co-creator.
Right. And then the kids just look at the parents, and the parents are being anxious, so then the kids are just like, well, mommy and daddy are anxious. I really should be anxious then.
Exactly.
I see. So what's the antidote to that?
The antidote to that is for the parent to look inward. It is always for the parent to clean up his or her own emotional landscape.
Right.
To really recognize that this is yours to own and it's yours to deconstruct.
Right. So what are parents anxious about when the kids are going back to school?
Well, parents tend to seek a lot of control.
Ah.
Control and fear, I think, are the two big issues that parents deal with. This need for it all to be perfect for their children during the school day. They should be happy. They should do well. They should be musically inclined. They'd like A's. They'd like popularity, and they should be artistic and all the rest. So we have
they have to be perfect children.
We have a lot of wants.
Yeah.
We have our own desires because they need to feed our egos.
Right.
So we get very caught up, and then we want them, of course, to be happy.
Right. On top of all of that.
On top of all of they have to enjoy it all.
Right.
And so I really always feel it's about the parent raising him or herself first.
Right.
And that is the pathway to consciousness and to children who really know about fun and joy, as you talked about early on.
Having fun in the process, absolutely. So what can a parent do to recognize that it's their own stuff? Because, you know, normally we're going through our day-to-day and like we're busy and we got to rush to work and get the kids to school and we're doing all this stuff. You know, we don't often like stop and self-reflect and say, oh my God, this is my anxiety. So what do you recommend to parents to get them to kind of like flip that switch and recognize that, you know, hey, there's something going on inside of them. It's not just their kids.
Well, you've got it. You're talking about waking up. And the best way to wake up, and it only takes a moment, is to stop and take a pause. Literally take a breath. And notice what energy are you, the parent, bringing to this child, whether it's getting ready for school and worrying about missing buses and missing a meeting at work, whether it's, you know, homework preparation at night. It's all about the parent recognizing what energy am I bringing? Am I comfortable? Am I joyful? Am I letting go of my expectations? Or am I approaching this with my needs being met, with this schedule being met, with that child must make the bus? So it's the first thing is the look inward. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's so funny how lots of times the parents like put their unfulfilled desires and expectations onto their kids. So, you know, maybe they didn't achieve something in their life, so they want their kids to be even better. So you have to do better. You have to get into a better college than I did. So you have to work harder than I did. And so they dump all these expectations on their kids. And the kid is like, I just want to go play Frisbee. What's going on here?
So then what happens to the child, and I see it a lot, and it's very sad, is that the child loses touch with his or her authentic self. What is the child like? You know, I have one child becoming a rabbi and one who loves American Sign Language and writing. You know, and neither of these were my particular abilities or greatest interests. So you need to stop and allow your children to experience their authentic selves by not interfering. And we always interfere, and we over-interfere. And that's where I really believe where we get so stuck.
Right. And then, again, that just perpetuates that generational cycle because we were interfered with by our parents when we were kids.
So we've lost touch with what we want and who we are and what we want to do, what I call the authentic self. And people often say, what does it mean to be authentic? And my definition of authenticity is to strip away all those conditioned patterns, anxiety, fear, anger, control, when we deconstruct them and we figure them out for ourselves and eventually let them go. That's who we are in the essence. And our kids start off there. But we pile this on, and they lose that touch, that touch with themselves. Right.
Yeah, so it's just learning that, they're their own individuals, right? They're their own people. And it's like in the quote before, it's about sort of trusting them, right? It's trusting them to know what their interests, what their joys are, what their desires, hopes, and dreams are, and not put our own unfulfilled dreams on them.
Correct. So it's a deep letting go, and it is not easy to let go in this way because we do have such an egoic attachment. So I sometimes tell parents, when you're encountering your child, pretend it's your neighbor's child. It's so much easier because we're not attached.
Right, then you're not emotionally attached, absolutely.
So encounter your child the way you would your neighbor in terms of telling your neighbor how to behave when your child comes home with a C.
Yeah.
And you'll have a much easier time.
Yeah. My friend Toss on the Facebook live stream says, this is where it all begins.
It is where it all begins.
Right.
And it's the middle and it's the end. It's everything.
Yes. So, so especially now I've seen that like kids, the social aspect of going back to school can be particularly trying for kids. And like, they're trying to fit in, yet it seems like there's still a lot of bullying going on. There's still a lot of sort of personal attacks that go on if you're a little bit different. How can a parent sort of more consciously help their kid? Like, let's say your kid is a little different. Maybe they're a little bit of a nebbish, a little bit of a nerd, or, they're not as coordinated, so they're not as good at sports, or, they just, feel a little awkward around other kids. How can a parent support their kid to embrace who they are, but still deal with these other kids who are going to give them a hard time?
Okay, so there's a lot to that question. There's first of all the concern about the labeling and comparing your child to another child or to the other children, because if your child isn't as social, that is okay, and they must be taught that if there aren't a lot of friends, there aren't a lot of friends, and there's family, and that's okay. So the first thing to always do, in my opinion, is to listen deeply. And watch your emotional charge. I don't think anything can charge us as much as a child not fitting in socially and not having friends, especially in the middle school years. Deeply, deeply triggered.
Yeah.
Because we so want to conform and be accepted and want our children to be even popular, no less, unpopular. So the first thing is to check in with yourself and see how deeply it's triggering you as the parent. Honor that, sit with it, but don't put it on the child, and then listen deeply to the child's experiences at school. Now, I don't believe in a lot of interaction with the school, but there are certainly times when the parent needs to advocate. But that advocacy has to be done very carefully. And it has to be done when you're sure there's a safety or a danger issue or a true emotional problem that needs to be addressed. That's an emotional problem, I should say. But that has to be, you need to attune to the child.
Right, and so there's a balance between sort of standing up for your kid when they're in a position where they literally can't stand up for themselves or they need the support of an adult to stand up for them, versus giving your child the support they need to stand up for themselves when it's a situation where they just need to stand up for themselves a little bit more.
That's absolutely correct, because there can't be a victim without a perpetrator. Nor can there be a perpetrator without a victim. So even in these terrible bullying situations, we are all co-creating them, whether it's between siblings or at school on the schoolyard.
Right.
The victim is seeing him or herself as the victim.
Right.
So
right.
if we can change that mindset,
right.
if we can make that quote victim, and I don't believe in that label, but I'm using
right.
it here to identify the person who's being picked on.
Right.
If that person can learn resilience and can learn that he or she is good enough and that what these kids do truly doesn't matter,
right.
and that they are strong and powerful, and give them skills and tools, whatever they may be, and there
right.
are a lot of skills and tools we can teach,
right.
they no longer have to co-create that situation, and you take away the power of the bully.
Right, exactly. Now, that doesn't mean that the child isn't going to experience pain. Doesn't mean that they're not going to experience discomfort. It just means that how they respond to it, you're kind of teaching them like how to respond to it from a more conscious point of view so that they don't suffer from it.
Correct. So we teach empowerment, but let me just say that we never expect our children not to suffer and feel pain. In fact, we should welcome that pain. And I know it's hard for parents to hear, but if we don't start teaching emotional tolerance of every emotion, not just the happy ones. You know, when parents say, I just want my child to be happy, I find that very disturbing. Let's teach our children that you're in pain, you're in pain. It's like a wave. It's in the ocean. It's temporary. It will come and it will go. Learn to tolerate it and find out how well they will be able to cope in the world.
Right. Oh, that's so beautiful, you know, because I hear it all the time. I just want my child to be happy. And it's like, yeah, what about all the other 9,900 emotions that we have? And I've never heard anyone say it quite that way. That's quite beautiful.
Thank you.
It's let's teach the kids to embrace all of their emotions, not just the happy ones.
And in fact, where is the growth? Where is the learning?
Right.
It's in the muck.
Right.
It's not in the joy. It's not when they're off giggling. It's when they're deeply sad. Let's teach them that that's the beauty.
Right.
That's the place of growth and wisdom.
Right. And actually, the less they resist it and the less we resist it, the easier it is to get through, isn't it? And the smoother the ride is through it.
What you're saying, I believe, and it's what I agree with so much, is the only way out is in.
The only way out is in. Beautiful. Todd comments on the Facebook live stream. He says, being different is not a disorder.
Being different is beautiful. We're all different, but
absolutely.
The ones who are more different are the ones we need to honor more, and they have so much to offer in the world.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, beautiful. Wow. All right, time to take our second break. And again, if anyone would like to call in, if you have questions or comments yourself, you're always welcome to call in on our hotline, 877-480-4120, or please comment the way Todd is. Todd's like blowing up our Facebook live stream field with all those wonderful comments. Thank you. Please also feel free to share us if you're on the Facebook live stream. Share the video so that your friends can see this interview as well. And when we come back, let's talk about maybe some current events topics and how we can support our kids when they hear about some crazy things happening on the TV. So everybody, please stay with us. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, and we'll be right back after these messages.